best constitute the factual glory of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ramachandra, whose spiritual body is always engaged in various pastimes. Lord Ramachandra has no equal or superior, and therefore he had no need to take help from the monkeys to gain victory over Ravana. Purport from Srila Prabhupada. As stated in the Vedas, Svetasvatra Upanishad, न तस्य कार्यं करणं च विद्यते न तत् समस् चाप्यधिकश्च दृश्यते परास्य शक्तिर्विविधाय श्रूयते स्वभाविका ज्ञानबल क्रिया च. The Supreme Lord has nothing to do, and no one is found to be equal to or greater than him, for everything is done naturally and systematically by his multifarious energies. The Lord has nothing to do, na tasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. Whatever he does is his pastime. The Lord has no duty to perform to oblige anyone. Nonetheless, he appears to act to protect his devotees or kill his enemies. Of course, no one can be the Lord's enemy, since who could be more powerful than the Lord? There is actually no question of anyone's being his enemy. But when the Lord wants to take pleasure in pastimes, he comes down to this material world and acts like a human being, thus showing his wonderful, glorious activities to please the devotees. His devotees always want to see the Lord victorious in varied activities, and therefore, to please himself and them, the Lord sometimes agrees to act as a human being and perform wonderful, uncommon pastimes for the satisfaction of the devotees. So, as Prabhupada is saying in the purport, Lord comes down to the material world and performs his wonderful activities mainly to please himself and his devotees. And Supreme Lord Ram is so merciful that he descended on this planet and he enacted this amazing Ram Leela. So we can absorb ourselves in hearing Ram Katha in the association of devotees. When we hear the glories, the mercy, and the qualities of the Lord and his devotees, and when we hear the loving reciprocation of the Lord with his devotees, our faith increases and the relationship with the Lord that we have forgotten is re-established. Like Prithu Maharaj says a nice verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Sauttam Shloka Mahan Mukhachuto Bhavat Padam Bujha Sudha Kanani Laha Smritim Punar Vismrita Tattva Vartmanam Kuyogi Nam No Vitarate Alambare. So here Prithu Maharaj is praying. Supreme Lord is glorified by selected verses. He's called Uttam Shloka. And such glorification is just like saffron particles. And when the transcendental vibration from the mouths of the devotees carries the aroma of the saffron dust of the Lord's lotus feet, the forgetful living entity gradually remembers his eternal relationship with the Lord. So Prithu Maharaj is asking for this benediction. My dear Lord, I do not need any other benediction but the opportunity to hear from the mouth of your pure devotees. And he also asked for a benediction to have millions of ears so he can hear more and more about the glories of the Lord. So like that, we should also be very eager to hear about Lord's pastimes. Now, Lord Ram, he is known as Maryada Purushottam. And through several pastimes in Ramayana, Lord is showing us the example of an ideal husband, ideal king, ideal son, ideal brother, ideal friend. And all the other characters in Ramayana are also giving us so many lessons. What we should be doing and what we should not be doing to become a surrendered servant of Lord Ram. And the verse that we read today says that Lord doesn't need any help. So why did he use the help of the monkeys to kill Ravana? And this is because Lord always wants to glorify his devotees and he wants to give credit to his devotees. So he empowers them to perform extraordinary tasks. Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Tara Pravartan. And I was hearing Gauranga Prabhu, he said, Supreme Lord has a very important task to make sure in Kali Yuga we don't spend all of our time on WhatsApp and Facebook. He wants to make sure that we open Ramayana and try to hear. So therefore, Lord Ram, he could have done this pastime really straight. In one moment, he could have popped off the heads of Ravana and kill him himself. Instead, he builds this amazing Leela and gives us Ramayana, which is filled with adventure, action, drama, romance, mysticism. And this Ramayana, it answers the life's deepest philosophical questions and provides us so many life lessons that we can implement in our lives to become a better devotee. Also, throughout Ramayana, we will see the intense emotion of Karunaras, transcendental sorrow in separation. We'll find that many characters, they are crying in separation. Dashrath, he's crying for Ram. Bharat is crying for Ram. And Ram, he's crying for Sita. Like that. And this is in line with the Gaudiya Vaishnav Sampradaya. Like we see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri. He is he's exhibiting the highest separation from Krishna, where he's crying torrents of tears, feeling intense love of separation from Krishna. Our six Goswamis in Vrindavan, they spend their time in Vrindavan crying in love for separation, love and separation for Krishna. So, like that, the transcendental separation called Vipralambha Seva, serving the Lord in separation, that's the main ethos of Ramayana. And it is said that the most hard hearted person, his heart will be filled with emotions for the Lord after reading Ramayana. And let's see, who did the Lord choose to write Ramayana? Valmiki Muni. We know the history of Valmiki. Valmiki was a highway dacoit. He was called Daku Ratnakar, who was killing and he was robbing people ruthlessly. And when he came to loot Narad Muni told him, "Why are you doing this? Why are you accumulating so many sins by inflicting suffering on innocent people?" Then he said, uh, "I'm doing this for my family." And so Narad Muni asked him, "Will your family share the sinful reactions of your activities? You go and ask them." So this Ratnakar, he went and his family refused to share any of his sins. So Ratnakar, he came back to Narad Muni and fell at his feet and asked for a solution to rectify his sins. So at that point, Narad Muni, he didn't give him any philosophy. He just asked him to chant the name of Ram. But Valmiki Muni, he had accumulated so many sins, so many offenses that he was not able to chant the name of Ram. Like we have read this before in Jiva Goswami's Sandarbha. Jiva Goswami mentions that one who performs 100 offenses, he loses satyam, or the capacity to be truthful. So he becomes hypocritical. He's not able to see his own faults. If one performs 1,000 offenses, one loses the capacity to perform austerity in bhakti. And one performs 10,000 offenses, one loses the ability to perform bhakti. Like, he is not able to chant the holy name of Ram. So Narad Muni thought that this man is so sinful and he's so much attached to death and killing. So Narad Muni then asked him to chant Mara instead. Now Mara means death. So Ratnakar, he started chanting Mara, 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 Mara. For 60,000 years he chanted. And while chanting, what was his qualification? His qualification was simply that he was obeying his guru. He had no other qualifications. But because he was simply willing to follow the instructions of his guru sincerely, all of his shortcomings were put aside by Supreme Lord Ram. And in very short time, he was chanting the name of Ram purely. And when Narad Muni was passing through that area again, he heard the name of Ram and he traced it back to an ant hill. And Narad Muni sprinkled some holy water and this ant hill dissolved. And Narad Muni saw Ratnakar. He was absorbed in meditation and chanting Ram, Ram purely. And then Ratnakari fell at the feet of Narad Muni, and Narad Muni blessed him and gave him the name Valmiki, which means the sage who emerged from ant hill. And we see because Valmiki chanted the holy name of Ram incessantly and got the mercy of Narad Muni, he was given the vision of the transcendental pastimes of Lord Ram, and he wrote Ramayana. So I was hearing one devotee was saying that entire Ramayana is nothing but the holy name of Ram. Entire, entire Ramayana is in the name of Ram. So in Ram Nam, everything is there. Sita is there, Lakshman is there, entire Ramayana is there. So I heard this pastime. Once there was a conflict among the Devatas, demigods, Manavas, humans, and Rakshasas, demons. these three groups, there was a conflict in regard to claiming proprietorship over Ramayana. So the demigods were saying Ramayana belongs to us, the demons were saying it belongs to us, and the humans were saying it belongs to us. So this issue went to Lord Shiva as a mediator, and Shiva said, okay, Ramayana consists of one crore, which is 10 million shlokas. That was the original Ramayana. The Ramayana that we have, Valmiki Ramayana, it has 24,000 shlokas. So the original Ramayana had 10 million shlokas. So Shiva, he said, let's divide these 10 million shlokas in three parts. So he divided, and 3.33 million shlokas went to each of these three groups. So when this was divided, one shloka remained. So if you divide 10 million divided by 3, you'll see that after division, one shloka would remain. And this one shloka had 32 alphabets. So again, Shiva divided up these 32 alphabets. He gave 10 alphabets to each of the three groups. And then if you divide 32 into three groups, 2 alphabets would remain. So Shivaji said, I want to take my fees, my mediation fees. And what did he take? He took those two alphabets, which is the name of Ram. Ram is composed of two alphabets, Ra and Ma. So therefore Lord Shiva, he's constantly chanting the name of Ram, and in that name of Ram the entire Ramayana is there. So in Ramayana we see Lord Ram, he's performing pastimes like a ordinary human being going through happiness and distress. Like when Lord Ram is ordered by his father to go to the forest, it appears to be a case of someone who is a victim of a conspiracy. So, how is that the Supreme Lord cannot stop this event? So, to understand this, we should appreciate that it's part of a larger plan and Leela of the Lord. So, I was hearing the origin of this Ramayana is this pastime when Lakshmi Devi, she's serving Narayana, and she's massaging the feet of Lord Narayana. And she says to Lord Narayana, although I'm so fortunate that I had the opportunity to serve you diligently for so long, still I'm little dissatisfied in my service. And Lord Narayana says, Devi, what's the problem? Nobody gets such service like you. Day and night, 24/7, you're serving me. So Lakshmi ji says, yes, I'm grateful to you that you are giving me this opportunity to serve, but one handicap in this service is that you are lying on Anantashesh. Anantashesh. And when I'm serving you, his millions and millions of hoods and millions of eyes are constantly watching us. So I'm not getting the opportunity to serve you in solitude, in privacy. So Lord Vishnu says, in future, when we appear as Ram and Sita, at that time we will organize some time away and go to various places in the forest. But that time also, Anantashesh will come, but in another form, and he will stay at a distance. So that is one of the reasons Lord orchestrates this Ram Leela. It was a promise that he gave to Lakshmi Devi. Also, we know that Dasharath, Lord's Ram's father, he got a curse from the blind parents of Shravan Kumar when he killed Shravan Kumar accidentally, thinking of him as an animal while he was hunting. And that also became the reason for Ram to go into exile. So we know in Ram Leela, Vishwamitra Muni, he comes to Dashrath and he asks for Lord Ram to join him in killing demons who were disrupting his yagnas. And Vishwamitra Muni, he takes Ram and Lakshman to various places. And we have the pastime of Ahalya, Ram liberates her, Ram kills Tataka demon and Subahu, and Ram and Lakshman serve Vishwamitra Muni very menially, and Vishwamitra Muni blesses them with several mantras and weapons. And then he takes them to Mithila, and there Sita's Swayamvar is going on. So Vishwamitra Muni, when they reach Mithila, there he asks Lord Ram, Ram, please go see the bow, this Shiv Dhanush. Go see it. Now, this Shiv Dhanush was so huge that 8,000 Kshatriyas simultaneously were required to lift it up. and they will walk with the bow one step, and then they'll feel tired and they'll have to sit down, rest for half an hour, and then pick it up again. This is how the bow was handled. But when Sita, she was 5 years old, her friend said, "We have to pluck flowers from the tree." So Sita, she went inside, and with her left hand, she picked up the bow alone and went and plucked the flowers and kept it back. And so the ministers of Janak Maharaj, Sita's father, they were watching this and they got a heart attack. They went and told Janak Maharaj. So the Janak Maharaj questioned Sita, and Sita said, "Sorry, father. Yes, I picked up the bow, but I kept it back." So Janak Maharaj, when he heard this, he was so fearful that who will marry Sita? Now, if her hands are so powerful, any husband she marries, if she embraces him, he'll become chutney. So he thought her husband should at least be one who is able to lift the bow. So that was the criteria for the Swayamvar. To one who is able to lift the bow can marry Sita. So Ram came and Vishwamitra Muni told Ram, "Go and see the bow." Um, Now there are three types of disciples. The first class disciple, he understands the inside import of the instructions of the Guru. So Ram understood what Vishwamitra Muni was saying. Go see the bow means you go, try to pick it up, evaluate the strength, and try to string it. The second class disciple is one who does as much as he's told. Go see the bow means this person goes and sees and says, "I'm done. I've seen the bow." And the third class disciple, let me just mute. Third class disciple is says, "Why I should see the bow? Why don't you see the bow? Am I the only one to see the bow?" So there are three types of disciples mentioned, and Ram was the first class disciple. He picked up the bow, he strung it, and the bow broke into pieces. And there was a tumultuous sound, and all the members in the audience fell unconscious. So then suddenly, Sita comes forward with garland in hand. So Ram asks her, "Stop. My Guru Vishwamitra Muni told me to just see the bow. There is no discussion of marriage. What is this garland? If there is something about marriage, it needs to be discussed first with my Guru and with my parents, and with their blessings, we can move ahead." So then finally, all the parties come and agree for marriage. So, you know what Sita Devi's age and Ramachandra's age was at the time of marriage? Lord Ram was 12 years and Sita Devi was 6 years. Now, Sita Devi, she took garland in her hand and she couldn't reach Ram because Ram was tall, and Ram, being a Kshatriya, he wasn't bending down. So Sita is standing and Ram is standing, and Janak Maharaj is in anxiety. He's thinking, will the marriage happen? So many difficulties are there. So Lakshmana, he understands the situation. So he immediately falls down at the feet of Lord Ram. And when Lakshman falls down at the feet of Ram, Ram reciprocated by bending down to pick him up. And when he bent down, Sita immediately puts the garland on Lord Ram. So after the marriage, Ram and Sita, for 12 years, life was going on blissfully in Ayodhya. And Lord was thinking that there are so many responsibilities in Ayodhya. I'm not getting time to spend time with Sita. So it was time for the Lord to orchestrate his pastime of going to the forest. So he used mantra as one of the agent. So mantra literally means one who churns. So this mantra, she was this hunchback maid servant of Kekai. Kekai was the youngest wife of Dashrath, and because of her beauty, Kekai, she was the favorite queen of the king. And Manthara's position in the palace was that she was the favorite maid servant of the king's favorite queen. And she wanted to maintain her privileged position. So Manthara was thinking, if Ram became the king, then Kaushalya, Ram's mother, will become the foremost queen, and Kekai's position will be downgraded, which will in turn downgrade my position to the level of an ordinary maid servant. So this Manthara, she was a hunchback, and because of this, she was always joked upon by others. But this teasing had stopped since the time she became the favorite maidservant of Kekai. So that was Mantra's hidden agenda in corrupting the mind of Kekai. She was concerned about her own position and respect in society. So now Kekai, she absolutely loved Ram and Sita like her own son and daughter in law. She was not at all into politics. Now, day before the coronation of Lord Ram, Mantra came to Kekai and told her, "How can you sit peacefully? Do you not know what's happening? Ram is being coronated tomorrow as the king." So Kekai said, "Oh, what a wonderful news that you have brought. Here is a gift for you." And she gave Mantra her very precious jeweled necklace. And Mantra, she threw the necklace on the ground and said, "Don't you understand that if Ram becomes the king, Bharat will not become the king?" But Kekai, she was not affected by this. She said, "Ram is the eldest son. He is entitled to be the next king. Maybe after Ram completes his term, if there is some opportunity, Bharat will become the next king." So why Kekai gave this response is because she was satisfied. In Bhagavad Gita 265, Krishna says, "Prasade sarva dukha nam hanir asyopajayate prasanna chetasoya ashu buddhi paryavatishthate." So, the cause of all disturbance is lack of satisfaction. When one is satisfied, one is not affected by hearing about what others have and what I don't have. So, Mantra, she stepped it further. She said, "Well, after Ram, his son will become the king. Once the kingship passes to Ram, it will never return to you. And if everything is happening justly, then why is Dashrath rushing to make Ram the king? And especially during the time when Bharat is not here." So, actually, during this time, Bharat, he was away at his maternal uncle's kingdom, Kekai Desh, which is the modern day Russia. But this was all by chance. So, Kekai, she heard this and she said, "Okay, that's fine. That's not a problem. If Ram's son wants to becomes the next king, that's not a problem." So Mantra was getting bewildered. She was thinking how to agitate this pure devotee of Lord Ram. She, ha- she has so much pure feelings for Ram, love for Ram, that she's not getting agitated. So Mantra failed in her two attempts. But then she went one step ahead. She said, if Ram becomes the king, Kaushalya will become the Rajmata, the foremost queen, and you will have to sit at her feet and serve her like a maid servant. And Ram will see Bharat as a threat, and finding some pretext, he will have Bharat arrested and may even execute him. So now, upon hearing this, Kekai's heart got changed, and she demonstrated her Virat Roop. Mantra was successful in agitating Kekai. So, what's the lesson to learn from this pastime? That ninda or blasphemy is actually very powerful. It cuts through the rope of faith. So, what does that mean? As jivas, we are all drowning in the quicksand of material sense gratification, and we are always distressed due to our anarthas, agyan, asakti, and ahankar, ignorance, attachment, and false ego. So, when we have to get out of the quicksand, there is only one way. Someone who is standing on the shore, if he throws a rope and we get the opportunity to hold on to that rope, and that person, he pulls us out, and that is satsang, the association of devotees. Satsang, association of devotees, is the only hope for that drowning person. And that rope is very important. That rope is a rope of shraddha, faith, attaching us to the devotees. And what ninda or blasphemy does is it's like a knife which cuts through the rope of shraddha. And now the connection is gone between the drowning man and the satsanga, association of devotees. Then I may be in satsanga, associating with devotees, but I'm not connected to the satsanga when the connection is broken. So Mantra, what she did was she took the knife of blasphemy and she cut through the rope of faith that was in Kekai's heart. So the faith, the love and devotion she had for Lord Ram was cut. and that resulted in so much of havoc for Ayodhya. So, lesson for us is that we should not do blasphemy and we should not hear blasphemy of others. We should avoid the association of non devotees at all costs. Asat Sanga Tyag Ai Vaishnavachar. We should associate only with devotees, otherwise, it is possible our rope of faith connecting us to the Lord and to his devotees may be cut, and then we'll be finished. So, Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, he writes in his book that Manthara was appearing as a well wisher of Kekai, but she had a hidden agenda. She wanted to secure her own position. So we too have many people who seem to be like our well wishers, and they give us suggestions, but who end up coming in between us and our actual well wishers. At home, some relatives come in between affectionate couples, or in offices, an envious colleague may come in between a team member and a team leader. So these envious people, they sow the seeds of suspicion and distrust in our hearts. But before believing in someone's words, we need to be critical in our thinking, whether they are saying things correctly, and we should consult Guru, Sadhu, and Shastras to resolve our doubts. And in another analogy that is given is that if Ayodhya compares to our heart, then Mantra is like the mind. The mind comes up with the deadly duo of doubt and desire. And doubt paralyzes our devotion, and desire aggregates our material, worldly infatuation. And being misled by the mind, we become like Kekai and we exile the Lord from our heart. So, as Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, that we need to beat the mind with the broom in the morning and shoes at night. We need to neglect the mind, chastise the mind, if it's telling us to do something that is not favorable for Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, it can lead to big disasters. So, now let's see the response from Ram. When Ram is told by Dashrath to go to forest for exile for 14 years, he immediately agrees. Ram goes to Kekai to bring down her animosity and her anger. So Ram says to Kekai, I had always considered you my mother. I thought that you too had considered me your son. But today I'm very sad to know that you never considered me your son. So Kekai, she was expecting this question regarding her unfairness in treating Ram, and she was prepared to defend herself and counter reply. But then Ram said, well, if you had accepted me as your son, you would have directly asked me for the kingdom. I would have given you right away. Why did you have to go through my father? My dear mother, to please you and to honor my father's word, I will immediately proceed to the forest. Please give me your blessings. So we can see the phenomenal behavior of Lord Ram exemplifying someone who is a dhira in all situations. Bhagavad Gita says, Yam hina vyathayante te purusham purusharshaba sama dukham sukham dhiram. So amritatvaya kalpate. One who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is a dhira and is eligible for liberation. Sukha dukha same kritva labha labh jaya jaya tato yuddhaya yujasya nevam papam vapsisi. Perform your duties without considering for happiness and distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing, you shall not incur any sin. So Ram, he was a dhira. He felt no resentment, no anger, and he had selfless love for his father and mother Kekai. So, lesson for us that Ram is showing us that we should also become a dhira. We should surrender to the plans of the Lord, and we should remain fixed in our duty, in our services during ups and downs in our life. So now when Ram is about to go to forest, Sita makes a petition to go with Ram. Sita says to Ram, O Ram, when my father gave my hand to you in marriage, he told me to stick by your side through thick and thin. I will go with you to the forest, and wherever you are, my dear Lord, that is heaven for me. And if you're not in Ayodhya, that is hell for me. So Ram, he tried to dissuade Sita, speaking at length about so many difficulties associated with the forest life. But Sita, she didn't budge. At last, Sita resorted to a last weapon, attacking Ram's masculinity. Sita said, "Oh, my father has given my hand to a man who doesn't have the courage to protect me in the forest." But then, rather than taking an offense at this attack on his capability, Ram understood the unshakable resolve of Sita to accompany him. And then Sita says, "My lord, I will go in front of you and crush all the thorns which come in the way." And that thorn is Ravana. So Sita wants to act as an instrument in destruction of Ravana. So here Sita is showing us the ideal of a uh, character of an ideal wife, staying alongside her husband through ups and downs in life. And then we have Lakshmana. He demonstrated unconditional surrender, and he chose to accompany Ram in the forest too. Now, Valmiki Muni, he describes Lakshmana as Lakshmano Lakshmi Sampanna, as someone who is filled with wealth. And what wealth is he filled with? He's filled with the wealth of Ram Bhakti. Now, Lakshmana also goes to the forest, but he doesn't go with his wife. He didn't think that Ram is taking his wife, so I will take my wife. No, he's going there to serve Sita and Ram as a menial servant. And at Chitrakoot, Sita and Ram, they used to roam about, and Lakshmana, he was busy cutting the grass, building the hut, getting the fruits and roots, clearing the stones, fighting the demons day and night. And he took this vrat that 14 years I will not blink my eyes and not sleep. I will serve my Lord day and night. And Lakshmana is there throughout all the struggle and suffering. 13 years Sita and Ram were in Chitrakoot, and Lakshmana, he was at a distance, respecting both of them. And then Ram, he tests Lakshmana. When Shrupnakha comes and says to Lord Ram, "Oh, my lord, I want to marry you." Ram says, "I have taken Ek Patni Vrata. You should marry my brother, Lakshman." So Shrupnakha, she comes to Lakshman, and Lakshman asks Shrupnakha, "Do you want to be a queen, Rani, or do you want to be a dasi, servant?" So Shrupnakha says, "I want to be a queen." So Lakshmana says, "Then you marry King Ram. I am just a servant. If you marry me, you will also become a dasi, servant." So she goes back to Ram, and this goes back and forth. Ram is sending her to Lakshman, and Lakshman is sending her back to Ram. So finally, Shrupnakha concludes, "Between these two brothers, looks like there is no unity. Let me go to the person who's keeping them together." So then she goes to Sita to attack her. And that's when the ENT surgeon comes in, Lakshmana. And he chops off Shrupnakha's ear and nose. And then the story of Marich takes place. Marich is in the forest. Ram runs behind Marich, who takes the form of a deer. And at that time, when Marich is calling out in the voice of Ram, Mother Sita says to Lakshman, "Oh Lakshman, please go and save your brother." So Lakshmana says, "Dear mother, don't worry. There is no one born in the creation of Brahma who can threaten Ram." But Mother Sita says, "No, our Ram is in danger." And at that time, Mother Sita, she speaks these harsh words to Lakshman. "Lakshman, I know you have been in this forest for 13 years, only to find a time when Ram goes away so that you can enjoy me." So, aggrieved by these harsh words of Sita, Lakshman then quietly bows down, makes the Lakshman Rekha to keep Mother Sita protected, and he goes to find Lord Ram. And when Ram meets Lakshmana, Ram starts chastising Lakshmana. "Lakshmana, why did you leave Sita alone?" And then they come back and see Mother Sita is missing. So Ram, he looks at Lakshmana and says, "You are irresponsible. It's all your mistake." So here we see Mother Sita, she's blaming Lakshmana for his character. And there is a test of integrity. And we have Lord Ram blaming Lakshmana for his competency. Now imagine you are in this situation where you have left a kingdom which you are not supposed to leave. You have left your wife which you are not supposed to leave for a brother who have served so menially that you have not had a minute of sleep, and then he doubts your ability, and Mother Sita doubts your character. Then what is there more to continue? And we also say sometimes that it's okay, people may misunderstand me, but Lord will never misunderstand me. He surely knows the truth. But we see here that Lakshmana, he was misunderstood by God himself. But Lakshmana, he still continued his service. In fact, he improved and intensified his service, and he acts as a great counselor for Lord Ram when Ram is crying for Mother Sita. So then, when the monkeys they bring the ornaments they found lying in the forest, they mention that a lady was kidnapped and was flying through the airway and was dropping these ornaments. Do you want to check if these are Sita's ornaments? So Ram said, I cannot look. The thought that it may be Sita's ornaments, it's breaking my heart. So Lakshmana, you go and see. So at that point, Lakshmana says this verse. Na ham janami keyure, na ham janami kundale, nupure abhi janami nityam padami vandanat. My lord, I don't recognize these necklaces and the armlets. I don't recognize these earrings, but I recognize these ankle bells. Why? My lord, I have always worshipped Mother Sita's lotus feet and have never seen her above her ankles. So I cannot recognize any of her ornaments except her ankle bells. So this is the level of devotional integrity of Lakshmana. And that's why Valmiki says Lakshmana is Lakshmano Lakshmi Sampanna. He's filled with the wealth of Ram Bhakti. And how many reasons were there for Lakshmana to give up the service of Lord Ram and say, I'm going back to Ayodhya. Enough of this husband and wife business. But Lakshmana, he continues. So this is a lesson for us. Unconditional surrender to Lord. Prabhupada said that this is the principle of bhakti. We will be misunderstood. Sometimes we may have luxury. Sometimes we will have to live austerely. We should be such that external circumstances don't matter. Only thing that matters is the satisfaction of Lord Ram, pleasure of Lord Ram. We should not give up our service to Lord in any circumstance. So then let's talk about Bharat. Bharat, he is the unsung hero of Ramayana. When Bharat he comes back from his uncle's place, everything is switched upside down, topsy-turvy. Everybody is thinking, oh, Bharat is such a player, he's such a game changer. He has instigated his mother to make him the king. So they are pointing fingers at Bharat, saying he's the culprit. He's the one that caused Ram to be exiled. And Kaushalya Devi thinks that it's Bharat. Vashishta Muni says, I'm convinced it's Bharat. Bharadwaj Rishi says it's Bharat. Lakshmana says, I feel like shooting Bharat down. Half of the city of Ayodhya thinks that it's Bharat who had instigated the whole conspiracy, while actually Bharat does not have any idea what happened. So Bharat thinks the only person who can understand me is Dashrath Maharaj. So when he comes back, he realizes that his father had passed away. So Bharat asks Vashishta Muni if he could perform the funeral rites of his father. And Vashishta said, no, because the last words of Dashrath Maharaj were that Bharat is the culprit. I never knew that he will backstab. So Dashrath told Vashishta, oh Vashishta, as I leave my body can be eaten by dogs, wolves, fox, jackals, but it should not be touched by the sinful hands of Bharat. Bharat says, I don't want this kingdom. So he gives the kingdom back to the citizen. He gives the kingdom back. So the citizens of Ayodhya, they say, oh, looks like he is genuine. Because if he was position thirsty, he would have taken the kingdom. But then other citizens say, no, 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 it's a big drama. He's a big dramatic performer. He's acting so that nobody would doubt him. So people of Ayodhya, they would throw stones at him when he would bathe at the Sarayu river. So amidst all of this struggle, Bharat he goes and meets Supreme Lord Ram. But Ram, He does not agree to come back. So Bharat, he brings Ram's padukas, footwear, and starts worshipping it. And Bharat prays that with my mind, let me remember the lotus feet of Ram. With my words, let me glorify Ram. With my head, let me offer obeisances to Ram. My mother is Ram, my father is Ram, my master is Ram, my friend is Ram. I don't want to know anyone or anything apart from Sri Ram, who has understood my heart. So that's Bharat. Bharat means one who performs bhakti carrying the bhar, the weight of bhakti all his life. Performing bhakti at all times, under all circumstances, tolerating everything that comes his way. And we know that Bharat, he left Ayodhya to live very austerely in a small hut in Nandigram, and he was eating only barley soaked in cow urine, and he was worshipping Lord Ram's padukas, footwear. And then Shatrughna. So Valmiki described Shatrughna as, um, sorry, yeah, Shatrughna as, so Shatru means enemy, and Gana means to destroy, the one who destroys the enemy. So how many demons did Shatrughna kill? Only one, Lavanasur. Still, he is called the killer of Shatru. So which Shatru did he kill? He killed the Shatru, or the enemy of false ego. So it is said that Lakshmana is glorious, no doubt, but higher than Lakshmana in glory is Shatrughna, because Lakshmana, he was a servant of Lord Ram, but Shatrughna, he was a servant of Bharat, who was the devotee of Lord Ram, which means Shatrughna was servant of the Lord. And Krishna, he says in Srimad Bhagavatam, Mad Bhakta Puja Bhyadika, more than my worship, the worship of my pure devotee pleases me. And in Adi Puran, we also have this verse. Krishna tells Arjuna, those who say they are my devotees are not my devotees, but those who are devotees of my devotees are actually my devotees. So because Shatrughna, he selflessly sold himself at the feet of Bharat, he could destroy the Shatru of false ego. So the main Shatru in our heart is false ego. If that is destroyed, then bhakti comes very easily. So now let's talk about Ravana. So Ravana literally means one who gives pain to others, one who makes others cry. So that is Ravan mentality. So I heard in a lecture, Ravana actually, he had no desire for Sita. He was happy in Lanka in his own world. But when Shrupnakha, she was attacked by Lakshmana, Shrupnakha, she came running to Lanka, and Shrupnakha was the one that started speaking glories of Sita in front of Ravana. So when Shrupnakha said, there is this beautiful woman, Sita, she is the embodiment of all beauty. You, Ravana, you deserve her. You need to possess her. So it was Shrupnakha's propaganda which created desire within Ravana. So what does Shrupnakha represent? Shupnaka represents internet, media, advertisement. When propaganda is made, a person who's quite satisfied with what he is doing, suddenly he develops a desire, and that desire becomes the cause of his anxiety. So where you think that you don't have enough, I want this also, that also. And another thing about Ravana is that he made many, many people cry, including many rishis. So he got a total of 18 curses from different people like Nalkovera, Vedavati, Vedic Brahmanas, Nandi, Vashishtha, Ashtavakra, like that. 18 curses he got. So Ravana, he, like with Ashtavakra, he saw Ashtavakra who was bent in 8 places, and Ravana said, by giving him a kick, "Oh, handsome fellow, with my kick I will cure your 8 hunches." So Ashtavakra Muni said, because you have kicked me with your feet, I curse you that in a future monkey will come and hit you from head to toe. And because of that curse, when Angad, he went to Ravana, he jumped on top of Ravana and he kicked him from top to bottom, and he passed urine on Ravana's head. So Ravana actually got cursed by many people like that. So lesson for us is that if we accumulate curses in our life, tears that we cause to others who are weaker than us. Like if a powerful man who makes others who are subordinate to him, weaker to him, cry because of his own selfish interests, those tears will create a big ocean which will drown the powerful man, however powerful that person may be. So then, when Ravana heard from Shrupnakha about Sita's beauty, he became lusty and he went to Marich to ask him for help. And Ravana told him to become this golden deer to attract Sita. But Marich, he was not agreeing. He was trying to dissuade Ravana. He chastised Ravana for doing this. And he said, Ravana, which enemy of yours has planted this horrible idea in your head? So he was saying this, that this because he knew the power of Lord Ram. So Marich's mother, Tataka, and his brother Subahu, they had been killed by Ram previously. And Marich's life was spared by Ram. So he knew the great power of Lord Ram. And now Marich, he was living in the forest and he was chanting mantras and reading scriptures and meditating on the higher spiritual reality. Yet he always lived in constant fear of Ram. So Ravana, he told him, if you don't do this, then I will kill you right now. So Marich, he had a choice whether to be killed by Ravana or to be killed by Ram. So Marich thought his death is inevitable, so he might as well choose the best death. So he has been reading scriptures. He knows that if he dies at the hand of Lord Ram, that will take him to a better destination. So he chose to be killed by Ram. Now, don't think that Marich was a devotee and he made the right choice of being killed by Ram than being killed by Ravana. No, we have an opposite example, the example of Jatayu. Jatayu chose to be killed by Ravana, but he served Lord Ram in the process. And Marich, he was killed by Ram, but he separated Ram from Sita, and in this process, Marich served Ravana. So being killed by Ram is not glorious. The attitude, the intention is more important. So despite Marich's spiritual knowledge, he didn't think of Ram and Ram's service. He thought only of his own elevation and destination. Now, in the case of Jatayu, Sita told Jatayu, who was very old, Jatayu, you should not confront Ravana. You go and tell Ram. But instead, Jatayu, he immediately attacks Ravana. Now, Jatayu, he's not listening to Sita and he's risking his life. And what if Jatayu is killed? He wouldn't be able to inform Ram also what happened to Sita. So Jatayu, in one sense, he is disobeying Mother Sita. So why did Jatayu do like this? So there are two reasons why Jatayu did this. So Jatayu, he comes flying and tells Ravana, Ravana, you are acting like a coward. Don't do this. So Ravana, he ignores Jatayu first. Then Jatayu, he attacks Ravana with his wings and he pulls out the 10 arms of Ravana. But then 10 more arms pop up because of the boon Ravana had. Jatayu, he kills the driver of the chariot. He breaks the chariot of Ravana to pieces. But Ravana, he then shoots so many arrows on Jatayu that Jatayu is covered completely with the arrows. But Jatayu takes off these arrows and again he attacks Ravana. He again breaks Ravana's bow. He pulls Ravana from the chariot, he drags him, and Ravana picks up the sword, and with that sword he breaks Jatayu's wings. Now another stroke from Ravana would have killed Jatayu, but Jatayu, he falls on the ground as if he is dead. He was actually not dead. Now Jatayu tells later that he actually preserved his life. He knew that now it's time to follow Sita's instructions. Sita has told me to inform Ram, so I will hold my life because now I have some strength left. With that last burst of strength, I want to fulfill the service Mother Sita has given me. So when Lord Ram comes and Jatayu, he explains Ram what happened. Jatayu says to Ram, Ram, don't worry. You will find Sita very soon Because Ravana, I know he is an expert astrologer, and Jatayu also knew astrology. Ravana had actually calculated that he would kidnap Sita at a particular muhurat, and in that muhurat, if you kidnap or steal something, then you will immediately get it back. If you kidnap or steal something, that you will keep with you forever. So that was the muhurat that Ravana uh, was trying to kidnap Sita, so that Sita stays forever with him. But Jatayu, he also knew the astrological muhurat, and he tells Ram that he delayed Ravana and he kept fighting with him and caused that muhurat to pass and another muhurat, Vindhya muhurat, to begin. And in that muhurat, if you lose something, that treasure you will get back soon. In matter of time, you will get back Sita. So that's why Jatayu was fighting and delaying Ravana from taking Sita. So Ram, he was so overwhelmed. He starts crying and he performs last rites for Jatayu, which he didn't even do for his own father. So Ram gave Jatayu a greater position than Dashrath Maharaj. So like that, Jatayu did a great service for Lord Ram. So then there is the pastime of Sugriv and Vali. So we know the misunderstanding that happened between the two brothers. Um, so Sugriv, being the younger brother, he was faithfully serving his elder brother Vali. When Vali was fighting with a Mayavi demon, this demon went into a cave and Vali wanted to kill him. And Sugriv also wanted to accompany his brother into the cave. But Vali asked Sugriv to stand outside the cave so that if the demon comes out, Sugriv could kill him. So Vali went inside the cave and Sugriv was waiting outside and he waited for a long time. And 1 year passed. And Sugriv, then he heard a loud cry from inside the cave and he called out to his brother. But there was no response. So thinking that his brother has been killed by the demon, Sugriv, he thought that the demon may come out of the cave. So he closed the cave with a large boulder and he went back to his kingdom, Kishkinda. And there Sugrivi was morose at his brother's death. But everybody asked him to take the lead of the kingdom and become the king. But after some time, Vali comes back and he misunderstood the whole situation. And without checking with Sugriv, he made the wrong assumption that Sugriv wanted to become the king. So he closed the cave with a boulder so that Vali would die inside. So then, because of this misunderstanding, Vali he became Sugriv's enemy and he wanted to kill him. But Sugriv he ran away to a place called Pampa Sarovar, the hermitage of Matanga Rishi. Um, so there is a pastime with that one time Vali had killed a demon and he threw the demon far away and it landed on Matanga Rishi's ashram where he was performing yagna and the blood and the bones of demon were all thrown on his ashram. So this Matanga Rishi he cursed Vali that if Vali came near Matanga Rishi's place then he would immediately die. So Sugriv found that this place was very safe because Vali would never come over there. So, so then when Sita was kidnapped, and Ram, he then goes to Sugriv to seek his help in finding Sita. There is a pastime uh, at that point which gives us a good lesson. So what happened was when Sugriv welcomes Lord Ram, he makes a mistake. He offers respect only to Lord Ram and he offers him a seat, but he doesn't offer a seat to Lakshmana. So Ram tells Sugriv that Sugriv, I will protect you against Vali. You go and challenge Vali. So Sugriv then goes and he challenges Vali, and there's a big fight, and Sugriv is being beaten up, and Vali, he's about to smash Sugriv completely to pulp. And Sugriv, he's thinking, why my Lord Ram, he's not helping me. So yeah, Lord Ram did not help him at that point. So Sugriv, he had to jump out and um, go to a safe place to save himself from Bali. So then he goes to Ram and asks him, "What kind of friend you are? Why did you not kill Vali?" So Ram said, "What can I do? Both of you look so similar. Therefore, I don't know whom to shoot arrow on." So now, what is the significance of this? So Ram wanted to demonstrate Sugriv has honored me by giving me the seat, but he has not yet honored Lakshmana. Now, you cannot get Krishna's or Ram's grace till you get Guru's grace. Lakshmana is the Guru. So Ram then asked Lakshmana to place a garland of flowers around Sugriv's neck. And Sugriv, he comes and he bows down before Lakshmana. And Lakshmana puts the garland around Sugriv. And now there is a difference between Sugriv and Vali. Why? Because Sugriv has now been blessed by the spiritual master. He has been initiated. He has received the blessings of a Vaishnava. So Lord is teaching us. From Lord's perspective, one soul and another soul look same. There is no need for the Lord to intervene in the lives of so many souls because everything is happening by the law of karma. And what is law of karma? It's Lord's corporate policy. But if you want Shama, forgiveness, to manifest, that is Lord's family policy. That the Lord only gives forgiveness when he accepts someone as part of his family. Therefore, one soul, another soul look same. What makes Lord take notice? When a Vaishnava blesses the soul, Lord takes notice that I will protect him because Vaishnava's grace has come, Guru's grace has come. So then, when Sugriv is garlanded by Lakshmana, Sugriv again goes to fight with Vali. And then Lord Ram shoots an arrow on Vali, hiding behind a tree, and Vali is killed. So there is a nice explanation why Lord killed Vali hiding behind a tree. So when Vali was hit with the arrow of Ram, he sees Ram come out behind the tree and he asks, "Who are you? Why did you hit me from behind the tree?" So Lord Ramachandra says, "Kalosmi, time I am." The arrow that struck on your chest is a personification of your sinful activities. You beat your brother so badly without even listening to his explanation. You forcefully kicked him out of his own kingdom. You disregarded the years and years of loyal service he gave you. And you forcefully took away his wife, Roma. How could you do this? And according to Manu Samhita, anyone who takes away another's wife by force has to be killed, has to be given a death penalty. And therefore, being the son of Maharaj Dashrath, it is my duty to administer justice. And the justice for you, Vali, is this capital punishment. That's why I have hit you. And why I hit you hiding behind a tree? You didn't even come to know that I have hit you is because law of karma is like that. It hits us and we don't even know where it hits us from. Law of karma does not give us warning. Oh, you did this sin, that's why you're going to get this suffering. Tomorrow this is going to happen. Tomorrow you're going to get a heart attack, or our karma, our destiny does not give us a warning. So Lord Ram explains this to Vali to teach this principle that I hit you and caught you unaware. This is how the reactions to our sins come and hit us when we are least expecting. When we are busy doing something else, it comes and hits us. Sudden accidents, sudden heart attacks, sudden crises. So these can come at any time. Therefore, we have to be prepared and make sure that we don't do sinful activities. So Bali said, "What sinful activities have I done?" So Ram said, "You took the wife of Sugriv forcefully. Why did you do that?" So Vali tells Ram, "What are you talking about? I am not a human being like you. I am a monkey. We don't follow the rules of human beings. You cannot take another person's wife. These rules don't apply to us." So then Ramachandra said, "Okay, so if you are an animal, then I am a Kshatriya. And Kshatriyas are allowed to hunt. And when we hunt animals, we don't go and declare ourselves, 'Oh, tiger, here I am.' As Kshatriyas, we are allowed to hide and shoot our arrows when animal is not watching us. That's how we hunt. So what's wrong with what I have done?" But then Lord Ram, he tells Vali, if you think that I have acted wrongly, then I will withdraw my arrow and restore your life right now. But then Vali, he understands that this is none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ram. And he says, nobody can speak dharma like you. The way you're speaking, I can understand that you are Supreme Personality of Godhead. It unfortunately took me this arrow to realize what mistakes I've committed. And then Vali, he begged forgiveness from Lord Ram. He said, what you have done is perfect. And now I don't want to pass over the opportunity to die in your presence. So I want to die. So then Vali, he looks at his wife, Tara, and son Angad and tells them, you should have faith in Lord Ram. You should not hold any grudge against Sugriv and stay under his protection. And what has happened to me is because of my own karma. And then he turns to Sugriv and begs for his forgiveness and requests him to bear no malice towards Tara and Angad. And Vali, then he takes out a jeweled necklace that Indra had given him, which had the power that whoever wears it, his life would be protected. And he hands that over to Sugriv. And as soon as he does that, Vali, he falls dead. So now our acharyas, they also give a very deeper meaning why Ram kills Vali from behind a tree without coming face to face with him. So let's see what Vali represents. Like in Krishna Lila, Krishna killed so many demons, and all these demons, they represent some anarthas in our heart. So in this story, Vali represents anger, krodh, and he also represents lust, and uh, and because of that, he made many bad choices. Um, Combination of anger and lust, and he also represents temptations. These temptations, they make us fall down. So there are temptations all around us. There's temptation to eat in the restaurants, temptation to watch things on the internet that we are not supposed to watch, do things that we are not supposed to do, temptation to interact with friends that are breaking regulative principles, engaging with non devotees, temptation to vent out our anger. So there are temptations all around us, and Vali represents these temptations. And Vali, he had a benediction that if Vali came face to face to fight anybody, 50% of the enemy's strength will come to Vali. So if Vali is fighting with someone who is more powerful than Vali, 50% of the opponent's strength will come to Vali. So if Vali had one strength and the opponent had 100 strength, 50% of the opponent's strength comes to Vali. So Vali becomes 51 and the opponent becomes 50. So in that way, Vali will be ultimately more powerful always from his enemy compared to his enemy. So it was impossible to defeat Vali face to face. And Vali represents temptations. And now, if we come face to face with temptations, we will also become weak. We will fall down. So if we watch something on the internet, we say, oh, nothing will happen to me. I'll just watch. You watch that movie, you watch these videos, or you are coming face to face with Vali. You think you can come face to face with Vali and survive? No. Even Ravana could not survive in front of Vali. Vali, he captured Ravana and carried him in his armpit. Um, so we cannot come face to face with temptation and survive. And temptation in this world is like a storm in the ocean, and we are like a ship. If there is a storm, then we should divert our ship and stir it around the storm and go to our destination. Don't think that I can ride my ship through the storm and I will survive. Nobody has survived. So we cannot survive against Bali. So Lord Ram, he's teaching us that don't challenge Bali face to face. When temptation comes, shoot the temptation from the side and go ahead. But don't be foolish enough to challenge the temptation. I will watch, nothing will happen to me. I will eat in this restaurant, nothing will happen to me. Um, like that. No, our consciousness will be polluted when we do these activities. And then when our bhakti will become weak, then we'll not be able to cry for Krishna. Our spiritual advancement will become stunted, and we may permanently forget Krishna. So this is the fear that a devotee needs to have. And devotees, they fall down because they become overconfident, like foolhardy. And we have heard this saying before, fools rush in where angels fear to tread. So we have to be careful in avoiding coming face to face with temptation. So, last pastime that I want to discuss is about Sugriev's complacency. So, when Vali is killed, Sugriv, he becomes united with his family and he becomes the king of the Vanaras, the monkeys. And the Chaturmasya, the 4 months of rainy season starts. And it is described that Sugriv, he becomes so much engrossed in enjoyment and sense gratification with his wife and children that he forgets the promise that he had made to Lord Ram. So this is signifying the jiva's tendency to forget, forgetfulness of gratitude, forgetfulness of one's duty, to succumb to temptation, weakness of the heart, and complacency. So when the 4 months of rainy season passed, Ram is wondering what happened. So he tells Lakshman, Sugriv has forgotten his promise. You should go and tell him that the door through which Vali went, I have kept it still open. I can send Sugriv also through that door. Go and tell him. So Lakshmana, he says, my dear Lord, I can not only tell him, but with my sword I can chop off his head. I will kill him. And then we will appoint Angad and use Angad to find Sita. So Ram says, cool down, Lakshman. You only go and you give him this message. Don't kill him. So Lakshmana, he tries to restrain himself, but as he's walking, he's breaking down trees, breaking down rocks, and the monkeys see that and they go and inform Sugriv that Lakshmana is coming. So Sugriv, he does not understand and looks at the monkeys and say, what wrong have I done? So here we see another characteristic of Jiva, that one forgets, one deviates, and still he is not convinced where I have gone wrong. So Hanumanji then says to Sugriv that there is actually one way I see. When Lakshmana comes, don't negotiate with him. Just fall at his feet, accept that you have made a mistake, and surrender and perform the service which you have promised, Lord Ram. So Sugriv then he sends his wife Tara in front of Lakshman. And when Lakshman sees Tara, he mellows down. And Tara, she's very intelligent. She says to Lakshman, Lakshman, great sages like Vishwamitra Muni and so many rishis have fallen down. My husband is only a monkey. What is a big deal? If rishis can fall down, what is the problem with monkey? So Lakshmana he gets bewildered and does not know what to do. So then Sugriv comes and he offers obeisances to Lakshman and he surrenders. And Lord Ram says, now that you have surrendered, I forgive and forget. So here's the lesson for us. When we make a mistake, we should admit it. We should ask for forgiveness and then we should rectify the mistake. So Sugriva, he immediately gives order to all the bears and the monkeys, all the different animals to come immediately. And then he divides these animals into 4 groups. He sends one group in each direction, north, south, east, and west. And he said uh, to one group, he said, you go in the north direction, you'll find an ocean. On the left you'll find a mountain. You'll find this, you'll find that. Turn right, you'll find this planet. And for every group he was giving this detailed description of the geography of the universe. And Ramayana, there are several pages of description of the whole universe that Sugriv is giving to each of these parties. So Ram is hearing all of this and he says, looks like you know the entire universe by heart. How do you have such detailed general knowledge? So Sugriv says that when Vali was chasing after me, and I was running all over the universe, I was in great fear. I was running to all these different places and I recorded the entire geography in my memory. At that time, I did not know that I will use this information. So learning from this is that whatever experiences we go through in life, it may come to use in the future in Krishna consciousness, in Lord's service. So we should never regret any situation we may have to go through in life. So the group that went in the southern direction, it had these great generals, Hanuman, Angad, and Jambavan. And I mentioned some pastimes related to this group in my previous lecture last week. I will continue tomorrow with this section of Ramayana called Sundarkand, where Hanuman is coming to Lanka to find Mother Sita, and he goes through 8 obstacles in his path. And there are a lot of lessons to be learned from these obstacles. So I will continue with that tomorrow. So I'll stop here. Thank you so much for hearing. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, very nice class. You covered so much and very in a very short time. So, but if somebody wants to hear, I have recorded the class also. I mean, it's being recorded right now. So thank you. It gives a very nice overview of Ramayan and the different reasons why different the lessons we learn from many things which are small, but there are hidden lessons in that. So, um, anybody has any uh, feedback, any comment for?
Wonderful class, Prabhuji. Very nice practical lessons. Prabhuji, if time permits, can we recollect all the lessons, Prabhuji? You can ask character and we can recollect the lessons because I'll get forget, Prabhuji, lot of lessons. So if you
Yeah.
are bring a character, so what and all Mataji shared, we will share like whatever we remembered. So in that way, like memorize, like revision happens.
I was thinking few things while you were speaking, so maybe I will say I don't know, but there are lessons, whatever and in between, one temple council member called me, at like towards the end. So that part past time I kind of didn't hear very well. Okay, so I think the first I was hearing when you were saying why the Lord comes, yada yada hi dharmasya. So I was remembering Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he was saying, Prabhupada was quoting, I think. I don't know if Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, but he says, the Lord doesn't have to come for saving the devotees because the devotees are already saved. Why? Because they are chanting the holy name. Paritranaya sadhunam. The Lord says, I come to deliver the devotees, but devotees are already delivered. Why? Because they are chanting the holy name. They are engaged in devotional service. And to kill the demons also the Lord doesn't have to come. Why? Because the demons can be killed by material nature. Little earthquake and all this can kill so many demons. So then why does the Lord come? The Lord comes to because the devotees are eager to see him. I think that's what you were also saying. The devotees are very eager to see him and in person, like and exchange in feelings with the Lord. They want to directly interact with the Lord. So that is why the Lord comes. So that is. Then you quoted this verse. Sa Uttama Shloka Mahan Mukhachyuto. So Uttama Shloka has two meanings. One is the verses that glorify the Supreme Lord are the Uttam verses, are the best verses. And the Lord who is the best is glorified by the choicest of verses. So Lord, he is called, Ram is called Maryada Purushottam because Maryada means boundary. That's what also you were saying. But Krishna is Lila Purushottam and Purna Purushottam. These are the two adjectives used for uh, Lord Krishna. So Maryada means he always acts within his boundary. And you were saying how he is an ideal son, ideal husband, ideal brother, so everything. So, and then Lord Ram took the help of monkeys uh, because the Lord can do it himself. That also you mentioned. I'm just recollecting what you were saying, also something that Ram can do himself, but he took the help of monkeys because he wants to purify his devotees, he wants to engage his devotees in his service, and he wants to give credit to his devotees. Like Arjuna, Krishna could have killed everybody himself. He doesn't need to take help of Arjuna because he wants to give credit. So Prabhupada also said, oh, this Lord Chaitanya could have spread, but he reserved the credit for us. So the Lord's pastimes have two aspects that also you touched upon. There is drama and there is education. Just like in a movie, if it is all a pastime. All this thing is going on. It is all Lakshmi telling Narayan that, I want to have, your company, but without this Anantasesh, who is always watching upon us. I want to serve you in seclusion. And that is how the Lord, he came as Lord Ram. So it is a pastime, this whole thing. Sita going to the forest, Sita being kidnapped by, because Ram wanted to experience Vipralamba Bhav. It is also said like that. Ram wants to experience that Vipralamba Bhav from Sita, and Sita also. So this whole pastime, we may blame Ravana, yeah, but of course Ravana is also who? He is Jay and Vijay, or his Jay. Who is the Ravana? Jay or Vijay, one of them. They are doorkeepers in the spiritual world, but they are acting out this whole Leela to teach some lessons in this and to facilitate this pastime. So ultimately, it's all a pastime. The Lord has enacted so that we can talk about it, we can become engrossed in it. Just like a movie has many aspects to it. There is suspense, there is crying, there is laughter, there is reunion after the hero and heroine are separated. And that actually captures our mind. So it's like, and there is some entertainment in all these things. So that is the Lord's pastimes have two aspects. One is the drama part, which the Lord wants to do for his own pleasure, and he has certain purpose to achieve. And there is educational, and by hearing this, we become also purified. So it is for drama, it is to educate us, to purify us, like that. So that is also. So Sita was kidnapped because Lord wanted to, and the Lord also wants to fulfill his promise. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir paritranaya sadhuram. So he wants to kill Ravana. That's why Sita was kidnapped by Ravana. He wants to show how he protects, and he also wants to experience this crying. So this the other thing. Do we have that verse where Jiva Goswami says in the Sandarbhas that I was always thinking about this from the first time I heard it. Is that like it will be nice if we can. I don't know if you have it. That 100 offenses means one. 100 offenses means you cannot be truthful. You are a hypocrite. If you do 1,000 offenses, then you cannot have any austerity in bhakti, right? And 10,000 means you cannot even pick up your bead bag and chant the holy name. You don't have even the courage to pick up your bead bag and chant the holy name, right? So Valmiki had done so many offenses that he could not chant Ram's name straight. But then somehow he chanted the name indirectly, and that gave him sukriti, and then he could chant Ram's name properly, and he got taste. So I was also thinking that, uh, you know, even if we have done so many bad things, somehow or other, if we can chant the holy name, even backwards, then we can still get the holy name of the Lord is so merciful. And Valmiki Muni meditated for 60,000 years because this pastime happened in Treta Yuga, right, where they used to live 100,000 years. So, and in the name, that other thing also, I heard somewhere this that you divide the shloka, the 100 million verses, was it 100 million verses into three parts? Where is that
10
from?
million.
Where is that from?
I heard it in a lecture by Govind Prabhu, ISKCON Chapati. Yeah,
Okay.
many days past. I can figure it out.
Yeah, I
Search.
just wanted to see where. I think Amrendra Prabhu was
Uh,
saying that something
yes,
about.
Prabhuji. I heard from Amarendra Prabhuji that
Yeah.
he divides it into three parts for
Then
upper
he
lower
further divides it. Then finally, only what is left is the word Ram. So, but I just wanted to see, is it in Ramayana or maybe in some other Purana? Maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not doubting this, but I just maybe if we have a reference, it'll be nice to have a reference because And where is it? This also, I've heard this before. Ananta says she's saying that, I mean, Lakshmi is telling Narayan that I want to serve you in privacy. I don't want Ananta Sesh around.
Yeah, that was Gauranga Prabhu in his lecture. I don't know the scripture.
Okay, maybe it's a, and because it's nice to connect with the
Mm.
scripture also. And yeah, but then I was thinking, well, when Ram is going into the forest with Sita, Lakshman is also going. So, but obviously Lakshman is staying at a distance, and there Ananta Sesh is right there on the top of Narayan. He's watching uh, Lakshmi Devi massage the feet. So, so how is that? Because Lakshman was always, he was guarding the. No, they say Lakshman did not sleep for 14 years, or right, uh, while
Yes,
he was in the forest, he was guarding, and so he was not looking at Sita, and he's looking at the feet of Sita. But Lakshman, who is also Ananta Sesh, is also going into the forest. Now, another thing you were talking about when Sita was plucking flowers, I heard something else because I don't know if it's from a different word. That when once Sita was sweeping the floor and she had to clean this the floor, and then there was this bow was kept. Lord Shiva's bow was kept, so she had to clean under that bow of Lord Shiva. So she very effortlessly lifted it and she swept under the bow of Lord Shiva. She like the bow which how many thousand people could needed to carry it. But you said something about flowers, right? That
mm, yes. I've heard both Prabhuji in different lectures.
so
So,
maybe more than once it happened also. Maybe it can be, but if we can figure out what exactly is the, I don't know if it's like mentioned. Anyway, the point is that Dashrath Maharaj saw this, that when the bow was picked up by Sita, then he thought, oh, my daughter can, not Dashrath Maharaj, Janak Maharaj. Janak Maharaj, he was thinking that she should marry somebody who was okay. And then um, another thing that you were saying about this, how marriage is decided by the permission of the parents, right? So I was thinking in uh, by permission of the parents, taking permission from the guru, and I was thinking about this in Kali Yuga, in the 12th canto. It is described how marriages simply happen based on attraction between the opposite genders, and they don't sometimes even consult the parents or the horoscope or something like that. It just simply happens based on, and that's why so many marriages end up in divorce because there is no proper consideration. It is because, but was it Sita Devi who was saying that
Ram was saying,
Ram was telling Sita, yeah, that yeah, I cannot marry. I have to consult my father and like that. So okay, so those things I was thinking, and Manthara, yeah, Manthara is very interesting. How she tried to convince so many times Kaikai, the different ways you are describing. Finally, she could convince Kaikai. And what was the argument she put to convince Kaikai? That your son will be executed, isn't it? By
that
Lord
you
Ram, you'll become a maid servant of Kaushalya.
caution. Yes.
So that was the breaking point. Although Kaikai was so much in devotion to Lord Ram, I mean, being the mother, not directly the mother, but she had a motherly feeling for Lord Ram and treated him as his son. But the breaking point was for Kaikai was when it came to her own thing, right? Because Mantra was trying to convince in different ways. So Maya also doesn't let go so easily. No, many arguments, many different ways, Maya will try to attack. If not this way, then that way. If not that way, then that way. You know. So, and somewhere we will be if we have not taken shelter of Krishna, or if you have not taken shelter of Lord Ram properly, then we will become convinced some way or other. In so many ways, the attack will come from different fronts. And this attack, like Prabhupada says, this is the which Shakti of Maya that makes us go away. It's the Prakshepatmika Shakti. The Prakshepatmika Shakti of Maya is is trying to convince us why we should not become serious about Krishna consciousness, or why this is not good, that is not good, so many things. And this devotee is not good, that is not good, this is not right. So like that, there are so many things. And ultimately, it was also attachment for her son. Kaikai was attached to her son Bharat. So ultimately, when Mantra said, "Oh, you will become a maid servant and your son will be executed by Ram," that's when it got. Like Dhritarashtra also, his blind affection for his son. Now, of course, without Kaikai saying all these things, then nothing can happen. Lord Ram is not going to go to forest. If she didn't ask Dashrath Maharaj, if Ram did, so all this also is part of the Leela, but some lesson to learn in that. Um, and so I was thinking we have to consciously control the mind. If you allow the mind to be swayed by so many different things that people say, and then if we allow our mind to think of so many things, the so many possibilities and so on, then we can't even take up Krishna consciousness. Uh, and if we hear from so many people and so many others and so much gossip and everything, then mind will become weak. So we have to consciously control the mind. Should not allow the mind to go from, like when we are chanting japa, so many thoughts may come, and every time when we chant japa and we feel distracted from the holy name, hearing the holy name and remembering like Krishna is the holy name, that means Maya is attacking. So, and what to speak of even if we don't have desire to chant and desire to serve like that, that means all this is Maya attacking basically. Maya is attacking us, and if we get carried away by all this, then our determination will become weak and we will succumb. So, then also Sita is showing the example of the chaste wife you were saying, and then injustice. What was that about injustice? I was thinking that. You were saying that Bharat was misunderstood by God. God never misunderstands anybody. Sometimes we may feel like, oh, God is misunderstanding. So even uh, right, what was that past thing that Dashrath Maharaj misunderstood Bharat,
Uh,
and
Lakshmana was misunderstood by Ram when he said, "Why you left Sita?"
yeah, so that was also, yeah, Lakshman was also misunderstood. So we may think, well, can God misunderstand us? Is there any deficiency in God that God can misunderstand us? No, there is no deficiency in God. Um, but this is showing, I mean, the
He's
surrender of, huh?
testing the jiva. He's
Yeah,
testing the surrender.
yeah, he is testing, and it shows the surrender of Lakshman, that even though he was being chastised on both sides, one by Sita and one by Ram, Sita cast doubts on his character. So Lakshman did not give up the service of Ram, even though Ram chastised him. So I was remembering that verse, the last verse of Shikshashtakam, um, that, or how does it start? Haslishyava padaratam pinastu mam adarshanan marmahatam karotu va yatha tatha va vidadhatu lampato mat prananathastu sa eva naparaha. That, oh Lord, even if you embrace me or ignore me or you make me broken hearted. Lakshman must have been broken hearted to hear what Ram was saying, that, you're not competent, you're for a Kshatriya, to hear like this is not very nice. So, so Lord cannot misunderstand us. We should not think because Lord is in our heart. He can never misunderstand us. But this is for the purpose of establishing the pastime can go on, and also showing how the glory of Lakshman, who represents the Guru. So okay, then what else I was thinking about? Yeah, also I heard that Bharat, because people were throwing stones at him because he was being misunderstood. So he would go to bathe very early in the Sarayu River because he was always being, the people were throwing stones. So before anybody, most people would wake up, he would take a very cold bath early in the morning, and he led a very life of big austerity. So another thing, you said Ravana had 18 curses. He was also cursed, right? Ravana was also cursed that if he forcibly um, uh, forces himself, if he forces himself on any woman, then he's going to get what is that? Who was that? From whom did he get that curse?
Uh, I think it was some Apsara, or maybe it was Nalkovera. Uh,
Vedavati. That is previous incarnation
Yeah,
of Maya.
yeah, in the previous life, or no, Vedavati gave up her body, right? When
yes,
and
Yes, yes.
she
Vedavati.
yeah, but there was another Apsara who I think Ravana he raped, and she gave the curse that if he forces upon any lady, then he will be killed right away.
and that is why
I
Ravana was not. Yeah, go ahead.
I think it was Vedavati. Uh, that same Apsara sort of Vedavati gave him the curse.
Yeah, there could, is there more than one pastime we can check? I was just thinking about it because when you were saying 18 curses, so he got 18 curses and from Ashtavakra and all the different. So Vedavati also had cursed him, and that's why he did not force himself upon Sita because he knew he had the curse. So um, also, I don't know if you mentioned, I may have been sidetracked a little bit, but Marich, wasn't Marich when he was given the choice? That was an interesting thing that you mentioned about Marich. He was given the choice whether he wanted to be killed by Ravan or he wanted to be killed by Ram, and then he chose to be killed by Ram because Marich also knew the power of Lord Ram. Wasn't Marich before shot? Did you mention that? I don't know if you mentioned, but he was shot by Ram and he fell like
Yeah,
miles and miles away.
yeah, I didn't mention it, but I heard it because his mother and his brother Tataka and Subbahu were killed by Ram, but he was spared and he was flung large distance in the forest.
Mm. So Marich already knew the power of he knew the power of Ram's Shakti. So, but he is considered. You were mentioning that you're comparing Marich and Jatayu, right?
Jatayu.
Mm.
Yes.
So Marich is, although he wanted to be killed by Ram for his own benefit, but he was acting as a demon because his whole thing, he's trying to get Sita to be abducted in the Ravana's plan. So, and Jatayu is actually he is being he wants he was killed by Ravana, but he's acting in so he devotional service. Why? Because he's trying to save Sita. So, is that what were you saying? I got a little bit sidetracked on that part. That Marich was
Can you
not.
repeat?
No, you were saying Marich was actually he wanted his own salvation, but he was
Yes.
actually but he was not acting as a devotee.
Yeah. Because he served Ravana.
Hmm.
He was thinking about his own destination. In this process, he separated Ram and Sita. So he served Ravana, but he got killed by Ram. On the other example is Jatayu. He was killed by Ravana, but he served Ram. So, what is more important is our service, our intention, than who are we killed by.
Not the ultimate destination where we, yeah, the service attitude is more important than the, yeah. So also Jatayu was materially unsuccessful. We give this example all the time. That Jatayu was materially unsuccessful in stopping Ravana, but he was actually successful spiritually because Lord Ram came so to do his last rites. So in spiritual, in devotional service, it is all about our effort to serve. It doesn't matter whether we are materially successful or not. What Lord Ram is seeing is our attitude. So, okay, so those are some of the things that I was thinking when you were, and also, Vali, first time he did not offer, or Sugriv did not offer the seat to Lakshman, right? He offered the seat to Ram. And that is why first time Ram did not save. He gave the pretext that, oh, both of you look alike. Vali and Sugriv both look alike, so I don't know who to shoot. But actually the reason was that Sugriv had not respected Lakshman, but he had respected Ram. So we need the blessings of the devotees first. Before receiving the blessings of the devotees, we cannot get the blessings of of the Supreme Lord. So, so that is what this is representing. And we should not think, oh, if we are not initiated, we have not received blessings. We have received blessings. Why? Because we have been connected to Srila Prabhupada, who is our Shiksha Guru. Sometimes when we think about Guru, then we think, oh, I have to be initiated and I have to receive blessings from my Diksha Guru. No, we can receive blessings and the mercy by connecting. How Prabhupada says you can receive mercy by following my instructions. So you may be initiated, but if you don't follow the instructions, you may be getting less mercy than a person who is uninitiated and is following the instructions, and he may be getting more mercy. So it is not about, sometimes this thing comes up that this is all about like getting Diksha Guru or anything like that. It is not about that. At the same time, we have to get, but the thing is to follow, because you may be initiated, but if you don't follow, then there is not much. So mercy comes by, and you know, Ram says yes, we are allowed to hunt when Vali gives the reason that we can, as animals, we can kidnap another's wife. But then Ram says no. But then if you are an animal, and then we are, as Kshatriyas, we are allowed to hunt. So somebody may feel, oh, Kshatriyas, how can they hunt? So there are two reasons why Kshatriyas are allowed to hunt. One is because they have to keep their skills sharp and they have to face the enemy. So they hunt. And the second reason is because they have to keep the sages who are meditating. Prabhupada writes somewhere in his purport, because the sages are meditating in the forest, they want to be protected from wild animals. So Kshatriyas may actually do something like that. But in this age, nobody can hunt because everybody is born as a Shudra. Kalau Sambhava Shudra. Sometimes people say, I'm born in Kshatriya family, I can go and hunt. That's not allowed. In this age, everybody is a Shudra. Another thing is that Vali and Sugriv, Vali should not have uh, misunderstood Sugriv. He should have asked enough questions before he came to a judgment that Sugriv actually kidnapped, Sugriv actually kidnapped or took away my kingdom from me. Because Vali did not ask questions, he made assumptions already that, Sugriv is actually, he's trying to kill me. So sometimes I was also thinking that sometimes we make judgments without even questioning the person, you know. We just think, oh, this person is doing like this because of this and that. And so that is a lesson to learn, that we shouldn't judge without understanding what exactly is going on, why that person did what he did. So, so those are some of the things that I was remembering as you were, and then I got a call towards the end. So, but we have a recording. So, any other, I mean, lessons anybody like to share? Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji, I want to share two things like which Mataji said. It's very tough, like situations I felt. One is like when everyone in the world abandoned Bharata, because he did the plan, and due to that one, like Ram went to forest like that, and Bharata stick to his devotional service. So keeping faith completely on Ram, and he engaged in the devotional service. That's little bit challenging in the practical life. um, that is the one situation. The other one is when Sita gives strong words to Lakshmana, go, Ram is in danger, you go and help him like that. And Sita speaks strong words about Lakshmana. And when Lakshmana went to Ram, and Ram asks why you left Sita and came, and normally in that situation, especially I am speaking about me, we burst out like, oh, that this is what I want, that devotee want me to do, like that we will tell the truth. But Lakshmana was quiet, and he, as Mataji explained, first of all, he is not the one who come to forest. It's not there in the condition of Kaikeyi. Lakshmana has to go to the forest, but he came to serve Ram. And apart from that one, he got all these words and about from Sita. So he didn't speak out anything. So that is the tough situation. Definitely we go through that kind of situations between two devotees when we are doing services. But that is the one thing. And third thing is Sugriva, when Vali chased Sugriva, he ran whole the universe to hide himself, to hid himself, like, but he took that up that one as an that whatever he, the way how he roam whole the universe, that information he used in searching of the Sita. So there Mataji made a point, whatever it comes in our service, difficult times or whatever situation it comes, so keep on going so that it uses in our devotional service in future, like that. So I like this 3 point. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank
Yeah,
you, Mataji.
one thing I was thinking that Lakshman did not say. I don't know. Is it mentioned? Did he say that actually Sita told me like this, and that is why I I had to go? Did he say anything? And did Lakshman tell Ram that oh, I heard the voice as if you were in danger? Did Lakshman say that to Ram, or he didn't say?
Uh, so Lakshman told Sita that Ram would never ask for help because there's no one powerful than Lord Ram.
No, but later on
But
when Ram.
yeah, I have not heard it in the classes. I need to check, Valmiki exact verses if
Hmm.
Lakshman says that.
Yeah, because sometimes if you also, I think, if you don't say what you have in your mind, then the other person, of course, this is the Lord, and both are the Lords, Lakshman and Ram, both are the Lords. But for us, you know, you have to explain your situation, why you are doing, otherwise you'll be misunderstood. You know, you can't remain quiet. Like, let's say somebody is accusing me, then you have to tell, yes, why I did what I did, for what is the reason. So if I don't know if Lakshman said or not, but this is a Leela, so we can't. But sometimes somebody accuses you, oh, why did you go there? Why did you do that? And you should have done this. Then you can say, this is what I was thinking. This is what, I mean, I cannot say Lakshman should have told or not, but because this is the Leela. But Lakshman should, I mean, if we are, I was in the position of Lakshman, I would tell that this is what happened. Sita was accusing me like this, then, you hear the voice like that. Of course, then Lakshman was convinced that it was not Ram who was in danger, but it was some illusory voice coming, Marit shouting in the. But when he should not have left, Lakshman should not have left Sita, even though the Sita accused. And
Yeah.
Sita should not have crossed the Lakshman Rekha. But because of her attachment to the sadhu, when Ravana came disguised as a sadhu. So this is also another thing, that the weakness of Sita was used to kidnap her, because the sadhu Ravana came and he saw the Lakshman Rekha, so he could not go inside. But he asked Sita to come outside the Lakshman Rekha, and Sita, being attached to the sadhu and thinking like that, so sometimes the weaknesses can also be used against us. It may be our strength. You can say, okay, it was a strength of Sita to be serving a sadhu who's asking for dakshina, and but it is a good character too, but that was used against her. So in in kidnapping Sita. So of course, Sita was never kidnapped, really, because Agni Dev took away that Sita and gave illusory Sita also. So okay.
Yeah, and Amrinder Prabhu was saying in his class that it's kind of like when Sita said bad words to Lakshman. It was like she was offending a Vaishnava, and when we offend Vaishnavas, then Vaishnavas leave us, and then we have to suffer. And then Ravana, which is like all these things around us, Maya, it captures us. So he was giving this analogy.
Hmm. So Lakshmana is a Vaishnava, of course, but Sita is also representing the devotional service, or you could say the
Yeah, and he said that Sita represents conditional jiva, conditioned jiva. And yeah, and sometimes he says it's bhakti, but he was saying that conditional jiva.
okay. All right. So I think that's. Anybody else has anything to say? Any other comments? So thank you for the nice. Some pastimes I had not heard also. So, and you said Shatrughna has a greater position because he was serving Bharat. Because he was serving Bharat, who was a servant. He has a greater position than Lakshman, who was serving Ram directly, right? Because he was acting as a servant of the servant.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Doesn't Bharat also go with an army to
Mm-hmm.
in the
To Ram.
forest?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Lakshman is thinking that he has come to attack.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Oh. And what happens then?
Ram stops him, but there is a big conversation that happens between Bharat and Ram. I've not heard that, but yeah, and then finally Ram gives his padukas, or Bharat asks for the footwear.
Okay. So we'll stop here then, if nobody else. Thank you very much for all your association class. We'll continue tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Mataji. Thank you so much.